Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. I am delighted to have two guests in studio today, Keith Duffy and Brian McFadden.
Yay! I'm a big fan. I'm so I'm starstruck to be here with you, Trina.
I know. And Keith, I didn't even have to pay you to say that, but you did say to me before you walked in that.
Yeah, no, honest to God, right? We're 30 years in the business now, and we spend a great deal of time away from home. And we don't get as homesick now as we used to when we were kids, but you still do miss home. You still do kind of miss the Irish feel, the Irish sense of humour. So I actually have the Classic Hits app on my phone.
Yes.
And as soon as I wake up in the morning, I put on Colin and Lucy.
Fair play,
and then you come on next.
Then
and
me, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, if I'm not working, I'm in the hotel room. I always listen to your show and the breakfast show. And I
hope I've never said anything about Keith Duffy on the air. Jeez, I hope I've never said
I would have
nothing.
been straight on to you. No, but you're brilliant though. I love your way on the radio. You're very, very good.
Thank you very much. Now, Brian, you've got to follow
He's
that.
such a lick arse, isn't he?
You listen, of course, as well.
Oh, of course. Listen, I love classic. Anything to do with the 80s and 90s, I love it. So.
Yeah, you were saying you'd love to be back then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to get in a time machine and go back. Growing up in Dublin in the 90s was brilliant. You know, like little things that I feel sorry for my kids now that they don't get to have the things we have, like going to Extra Vision on a Friday night to pick out a movie.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just little things like that.
I'm always saying it to some of the young ones in the office. They never experienced Italia 90.
Oh, amazing.
Brilliant.
Imagine
Do you know what?
missing out.
I had this idea of doing a show, a TV, like a documentary, and I was going to go and try and find all of the squad from Italia 90 and talk to them about that experience and see what they're all doing now. You know, obviously Jackie's gone, but for the rest of the team, it'd be great to hear what they, because there's a lot of those guys, they wouldn't have been big, successful Premier League footballers, and Italia 90 would have been the height of their career, and we were all there, and the country was just alive during Italia 90.
And we didn't even win.
No,
That's the funniest bit.
But the game against Romania when we scored, we won in the penalties. It was just
unbelievable,
phenomenal.
Yeah.
I remember driving into O'Connell Street with my dad, and me and my sister were sitting on the bonnet of the car as my dad was driving along, and everyone was just flags out the windows. It was just incredible.
Nobody went to work.
No, the streets were empty, and if you were in school, you got a half day because the teachers wanted to watch the match.
My dad had no more interest in football than anything, and he watched every game.
I know they're a great time. So we're delighted to have you in because, Boyzone started around that time, 3 years after Italia 90.
93 was that dodgy late show appearance. Yeah.
You don't mind
93.
talking about that, unlike Shane, who doesn't like it mentioned.
Well, 45 million sales later, I don't mind mentioning that.
Yeah. Come here, I have to ask you about this Boyzlife, right?
We'd hope so.
We'll just talk about our memories. How did it come to be that the two of yous got together and put this group together?
Well, obviously Westlife is from the same stables as Boyzone, and we got together in 93, and we, as we say, we went around all the pubs and clubs of Ireland. It was like Louis Walsh threw darts at the map. We could be up in the Glendies in Donegal one night and down in Cork the next night.
Wasn't there a bingo hall gig on Collins Avenue?
That was when we got big. We didn't do the bingo.
Is that McCushel, is there?
No,
Whitehall.
all the old bingo halls in Whitehall and the various similar venues around Dublin. But that was when we got much bigger. I'm talking about days we got to the Glendies in Donegal and the Limelight in the Glenties, I think the name of the club was, and down to Cork. And then we'd be doing a 40-foot truck trailer at the Rose of Tralee. And we done all these shows.
Beat on the Street.
Beat on the Street. That was a good one as well, but that wasn't bad. But some of the gigs were awful. And look, Ireland was renowned for its rock music, its traditional music, folk music. Nobody wanted nobody wanted anybody to ruin the Irish reputation of music on an international stage. So a pop group, a boy band, nobody got behind us.
Oh, show
everyone's saying it's just not gonna work.
Well, guys our own age called us terrible names and slagged us off and insulted us. Shane Lynch and I grew up in Grangemore and Donamead, and we used to have to walk through Donamead to get to Hope Junction train station to go into town to meet the rest of the boys at the weekend to gig in these clubs. And we'd get bullied on the way to the train station. We get our trainers robbed off our feet on the way to the train station.
I remember Ronan telling me once in an interview about he'd be driving through town or whatever, and a lad in a white van or something would say, "How are you, Ronan?" And he'd think, "How are you?" And they go, "You sap."
I'm not going to lie, that was me.
You got that from lads more so than the girls.
Yeah. Look, listen, our audience was predominantly teenage girls, and that's that was our market, and we knew that. So by the time One Direction came along, boy bands were kind of cool and were liked, but when Boyzone started off, we were hated, and it was difficult times. But Louis was a genius at creating the hype and the perception of success We used to get the train from Hope Junction into Tower Street train station and then walk down O'Connell Street, and Louis would tell all the fans that would ring his office that we're meeting there at 6 o'clock. This is a true story now. We'd meet inside the Royal Dublin Hotel on O'Connell Street at 5 or 6 o'clock on a Friday evening to go off down the country to do gigs for the weekend. And a limousine would pull up outside the Royal Dublin because Louis would have all the fans there waiting for photographs and autographs. We'd all get into the back of the limo. The limo would drive around to the ILAC Centre. We'd get kicked out. We'd get into a white high ace van and we'd go down the country.
Do you remember there was a story, Keith, about, I mean, we'll talk about you, Brian, as well. I was like, there was a story about Boyzone being in a plane crash and all. Did
That's
make
a true
that
story.
up?
That's a true
It
story.
is true.
We were promoting in Australia and we looked at all the other pop groups in the world at the time, and we'd never been on a plane. We'd never travelled the world, and it was all new to us and it was very exciting. We did most of our work in the UK and Ireland. We'd never really been further afield. And we're looking at the other bands that were out at the time, like E17 and EYC, Bad Boys Inc. And their music videos were in real tropical places, you know. And all our videos are made in a studio in Bray. And it was just like, when are we going to get a budget to do a really cool video? And we were promoting down in Australia, Sydney and Melbourne. But after we finished in Melbourne, the record company decided to shoot our next video for Isn't It a Wonder? In a place called Broken Hill, which is an old mining village in the middle of nowhere in Australia. And it was very funny because the record company said they were flying us there by private jet, and we'd never been on a private jet before. And we come out into this kind of private part of the airport, and we walk up to this kind of an 8-seater Learjet, and we're going, oh my God, this is amazing. But the captain kept on walking, and we walked around the back of the plane, and there's a twin prop Cessna waiting for us, a little banger. Yeah. And we get into the plane, and we were flying to Broken Hill, and the right engine failed on the plane. The right prop failed, but you can fly a Cessna on one engine. But
Actually, that's grand then.
Yeah.
But look, if the other engine didn't go, you'd have been up there all night.
But we had to make an emergency landing, and it was dramatised.
But Louis was probably going, deadly. This is a lovely story.
It was
now
front
for
page
the
of the papers.
Yeah.
It was a scary time, but we were safe at all times. But but look, never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yes, I know. That's what he always says.
Yeah.
How did the two yous end up doing Boyzlife?
Well, it was actually Keith's idea. I was playing a gig in Whelan's. I just come back from Australia and I was doing a solo show in Whelan's, and Keith and Jay, his son, they came to see the gig. And after the gig, we had a couple of pints in the dressing room, and I was saying to Keith, what are you up to? What's going on? And Keith basically had just come off doing a handful of stars in the West End, a kind of a, what would you call it? It
was a Billy Roach play that he wrote in the 70s for the Tricycle in London.
I can't believe I had to ask you what was it was a play.
It was a play, yeah.
It was a play.
Very cultured, actually.
Yeah, very cultured. And Keith had this idea of writing a one-man show. So it would be basically like an autobiographical show, like his book, basically, about his life. But instead of writing the book, because he can't spell, he would actually do it on stage by himself. And I thought to myself, that's a great idea.
Jeez, hang on, they're all doing that now.
Well, obviously, they're all copying us. Of course they are, yeah.
Mary Barlow did that. Mary Byrne's doing it.
Are they
They're all doing it.
There you go. So Keith was telling me that, and I thought, that's a brilliant idea, because we've obviously been on stage singing the songs for a long, long time, but, we've got some great stories. We've travelled the world, we've worked with some amazing people like Pavarotti, Mariah Carey.
Wow, yeah.
So there's lots of gossip that we could tell, And neither of us have ever wanted to write a book, because it's just not our thing. We'd rather, because a lot of the stories that we have, you need to tell them. You can't read them. You need to tell the stories. You need to act them out. So I thought it was a brilliant idea. And then Keith says, well, why don't we do it together? And I thought, why not? And that's kind of how it started. People think that Boyzlife is the name of the band. It actually wasn't. Boyzlife was actually the name of the show we did.
Okay.
So it was Keith Duffy and Brian McFadden, Boyzlife, a night of music, stories, laughter, whatever it was called. And the show was just actually called Boyzlife.
And how did you know each other? Just from the music kind of
I seen him on Top of the Pops.
You were standing outside his hotel, were you?
Brian won a competition to meet me on the radio.
I came third.
He was a nervous
He was a third. Westlife supported Boyzone on their arena tour in 1998 when Louis put them together. So we're from the same stables.
Right,
so when Boyzone were touring, we'd gone from the nightclubs and the Glenties through theatre halls, and we'd made it to arenas now at this stage. And it's a funny story because we'd have bands pay an extreme amount of money to be support on our stage because they're playing to a sold out venue, and well, all of a sudden we have this band called Westside, I think they were called at the time, supporting us.
That's right, yeah.
Supporting us on tour, and we're going, well, where's the dollar? Where's our money? And I go, oh no, they're getting on for free. because Ronan Keating is their manager. Ronan was
And
Westlife's manager.
were you a bit like, come here now, they're trying to get rid of us now, we're too old, they're bringing in the younger lads
no,
now?
I wasn't worried. I knew that was happening.
Yeah.
My dad had rang me while we were finishing our Asia tour going, enjoy yourself, son. Your days are pretty much numbered. Louis is all over the TV putting a new boy band together to get rid of you lot.
You're
So-
24 and you're over the hill, basically, isn't it?
Was, yeah. Ronan was 24 when
Was
Boyzone
he?
broke up. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that was a total wild guess.
Yeah.
I was 24 when I left Westlife.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the age.
24 is a big year.
So we were only saying there, you know, how difficult it was, obviously, for everyone to get the tickets for Oasis and everyone. I mean, I just gave up. But
I got 4 for England.
stop it.
No, you know what? How I
Do you
did it.
want to give me
My
some?
daughter did it. Molly. She was up at 7:00, so we tried to get tickets for Crow Park, and she got into the queue, and she was like 475,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Couldn't get them. But she has a UK account as well for Ticketmaster, so she went on the list then to try and get for Heaton Park. And we were very, very lucky. We got 4 tickets for me and my missus and my
Because I was
sister.
just thinking about, you know, when Boyzone started and probably Westlife as well, it was queuing outside HMV.
I
That's
miss
how you
those
got your
days. Remember
ticket.
the old days when a concert came out, you would queue up outside Golden Discs or wherever was selling the ticket, and you'd queue, and the queues would be going round the corner.
Yeah.
I remember going to get tickets for Nirvana played in the Point Depot, and when the tickets went on, they only did one night, and I remember how massive Nirvana were.
When was that? Because I
Well,
remember...
the gig didn't happen because he died.
He died. I
on,
remember
on
all
the
the
day.
girls in school.
Yeah.
I was in school, same school as your sister actually. But all
Maryfield.
the girls, all the girls in school were devastated.
Oh, it was devastating.
They had all
I
their
had a
tickets.
ticket. Yeah, but he died on the day he was supposed to play in the Point Depot. But I remember the day the tickets went on sale, and the queue outside of Golden Disc, because they used to sell the tickets in Golden Disc. There was, thousands of people just queuing all the way around.
Yeah.
But that was the exciting part, wasn't it? You know, you'd have
I
kids
know.
camping out to get the tickets.
Did you ever actually, with Boyzone, did you ever do, you know the way like Chris Martin would turn up to surprise, was yourself and Westlife or Boyzone ever turn up to places like that where there'd be a queue of fans waiting all
No.
night? No.
No.
Couldn't be bothered.
Before Boyzone really broke, before we anybody really knew who we were, Louis Walsh was a genius at manipulating the press and making it look like we were much bigger than we actually were. But E17 were playing in the Point Depot, and Louis said we're going to the E17 concert, and we went down and we had Boyzone handouts, like little leaflets, and we went into the E17 concert and we were handing out leaflets, and that was the first feeling of fame. Even though
Advertising
nobody
your
knew who we
band.
were, but there was queues of people around us trying to get our autographs, and we hadn't even released the song at the time. And then we ended up meeting E17 and going back. They were staying in the Gresham, the penthouse in the Gresham. We went back and had a party with the E17 boys. That was back in '93.
Was it all right?
It was all right.
Everything's gonna be all right. That was what that was one of my first gigs as well. I remember going to see E17 in the Point Depot, the old Point Depot.
You were probably there that night.
And I tell you what, you know what it was, and I had my Kangol hat on backwards. Remember that? The Kangol hats.
They
That
wore
was
it for years,
Thought it was LL
The
Cool J.
boiler suits as well. Boiler
Oh,
suits
yeah.
were the thing, weren't
But they were so good. Remember they had such bangers as well. Remember that?
Back to the track, in fact,
Yeah,
I never
we're
knew
gonna
that you could turn and walk away to stay and leave us standing on my own, far from home, like a nomad, sad bad, dreams about togetherness that we never had.
My favourite was
Who
Yeah, we're
knew?
going deep, baby.
Deep, deep down.
We're going to sleep, sugar.
So rest up on my chest.
So good.
I was only playing that song the other day. That's hilarious.
Every tear, every high, every fear, every sky, every love, every lie, every time. I hope you know that I would recry every tear that's falling. I would remake my mistakes all over. I would.
So the video for your song, I Would, you've got loads of footage there from years ago. I'm taking you down memory lane.
Well, that's what the song is basically. It talks about, when me and Keith got together, everyone basically said, "Oh, this is a joke. This is never going to happen." And 8 years later, we're doing a world tour and we're on our second album. So the song is basically saying that we wouldn't, all the stuff we went through over the years, all the bad stuff, the good stuff, we wouldn't change anything because it pretty much got us where we are today. So the video kind of shows that, it starts off the video with footage of Keith when he was in Boyzone and me when I was in Westlife, and then kind of moves forward then to us doing our own shows now. So it's our journey.
Brian, you were straight to number one when you went solo after Westlife.
Do you know what? Do you know what Real to Me was released 20 years ago today?
Was it? Wow.
Yeah, I just got that on Instagram. I was like, wow, 20 years ago today.
Very
Number
good.
one in like 8 countries.
At the time, obviously, you're like, this is it now. No regrets about leaving Westlife. But as the years went on, did you have any regrets about leaving?
No.
Because they're still going strong.
No, listen,
Yeah.
they're flying. They're doing Crow
Yeah.
Parks, and they're after breaking the Chinese market now, so they're set for life, the boys.
Yeah.
No, I actually had a conversation with Nicky Byrne a few weeks ago, and I talked about it, and I was like, if I could go back now, my head space would still be in the same place when I left, so I wouldn't change anything. I'd still
And
have
was
left.
that really the reason you were leaving? I know at the time, I think I was at that press conference covering it,
Right.
and you were leaving because you were married to Kerry Katona at the time, and the babies were small.
Yeah, we see,
and
this is
you
what
wanted
people.
to spend time,
I was the
wasn't
only
it?
person that had a family. I had kids, and the rest of the
Yeah.
boys didn't have kids. So
And it
you have
changes
to remember
everything,
as well.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Now it's easy. So I've got my little daughter Ruby. I speak to her 5-6 times a day on FaceTime when I'm away. So, but back then you didn't have that. You didn't have video chat. You didn't have nothing. You just saw your kids when you came home. So if I was going months without seeing my kids, so I needed a break. I needed to go and have
Yeah.
a normal life for a while. And
But it's so life changing, isn't it? When you become a parent, that you
Yeah.
just want to be with them the whole time.
that's
you know?
the thing.
Yeah.
And it's hard now. Obviously, with Ruby being 3, it's difficult. And this world tour that we're about to embark on in January is going to be probably the most difficult time for me since I was in Westlife, because we're going to be away traveling to America and Australia and stuff. And I haven't spent more than 3 days away from Ruby since she was born. So
Oh, yeah.
it's going to be
Well, I
hard.
like that. At least you have FaceTime and everything.
Yeah.
And of course, yours are grown up, Keith.
Yeah, Jay's 28 now.
You must be nearly
me-
a granddad, are you?
Well, if Jay had been as interested in women as I was, I would have been a granddad 8 years ago. No, we've a great life now. My daughter Mia is 24, and she's an amazing young lady, and Jay's 28. And they're still at home with us, and we still go on holidays together, and they still do everything with us. And it's great. It's great. It's tough being away. It is. It's tough on them too.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, we live a very lonely life. We're on the road all the time, and people think it's a glamorous lifestyle, and we do love what we do. But you do spend a great deal of time on your own, and you miss your kids. And when they're babies, you're missing those milestones of the first step or the first word and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
that was I was only 20.
You're only a
I was
baby
21
when
when
you
he was
think about it. You
born.
were as well, Brian.
I was 20 when I found out Lisa was going to have a baby, and I was 21 when he was born. But it was tough times. But it's you kind of you can feel sorry for yourself to go, oh yeah, it's tough. We love what we do. We're very fortunate. But like Lisa, my wife, for example, when she was 16 or 17, her dreams of her prince. It wouldn't have been a guy that's away all the time on the road. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't wish for that.
I know, yeah.
You have to adapt. So it's tough on the family as much as it's tough on us.
Was it terrifying actually for both of you becoming parents at such a young age?
I was too young to realise how terrifying it was.
You just didn't know.
Same.
Just didn't know any better.
You don't even think about it; it just happens. doesn't
Yeah.
it?
There's never a right time, as they say as well,
No.
though. So anyway, I was saying about, is it 30 years this year?
31 years.
Since
Boyzone.
Boyzone's
We started
first
in
single,
93.
though.
93, working my way back to you. Detroit
Oh, was it
Spinners.
93, not
Number 3 in the
94?
Irish charts. We didn't release it anywhere else, only in Ireland.
Yeah.
And the second single was Love Me For a Reason. Number 2 in the UK, number 1 in Ireland.
So why are you not doing an anniversary tour with Boyzone?
We've just spent the last couple of years shooting a big documentary for Sky.
Yeah.
And
I got the press release.
Okay, so that was supposed to be out in time for the 30th anniversary, and then
Yeah.
I don't know if there's going to be shows off the back of it, but the documentary took longer than expected to shoot, so it's not ready till this year. But look,
Yeah.
never say never. As Brian said, we're very busy next year. We start in January in Ireland. We're doing Galway, Cork, Belfast, and Dublin, and we're only doing one night in each place, and then we're moving on to the UK, and then from there we're going States, east side, west side, New Zealand, Australia, Southeast Asia. So, I don't know when I would have time to tour with Boyzone. to be honest,
The other thing I wanted to ask you now, this very controversial question you both need to answer at the same time. Who's a better band, Westlife or Boyzone?
Boyzlife.
Good answer. I prefer the music of Westlife. I prefer some of the Westlife songs. I do.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, and I would never have left Westlife.
No.
I would have stayed in.
You've never been in Westlife.
Neither of you if it wasn't for me.
Keith, also, I just noticed that there's a big birthday approaching
Oh, you're very
later
kind.
this
Trina.
year.
You're very
No,
kind.
just saying, you're a fan of the show.
Half a century, and I'm proud of it. Half a century.
You don't look that old,
No,
in fairness.
I know.
You
I
don't.
look great. Brian looks 50 more than I do.
So any big plans for that? Will you be on the tour? For your birthday?
We're before. It's only in a couple of weeks' time. We've got gigs in the UAE next week, and then we're off to the Southeast Asia. We've got gigs in Singapore, and we're going straight from Singapore to New York. It's the longest commercial flight in the world. It's 18 hours and 40
I
minutes.
hope it's not that twin prop from Australia.
We might have to stop off on the way.
Come in, the pair of you are quite tall. That's going to be agony on the out legs.
Not
That'd
the
be
tall. A
terrible.
couple of glasses of Malbec and a sleeping tablet would be grand.
Yeah. 18 hours and 40 minutes. But yeah, we're in New York. I'm running a charity for children with autism in New York.
Okay.
And there's a great company in New York running a big golf day for my charity, for the Keith Duffy Foundation, which supports children and young adults affected by autism and their families. So Brian's very kindly escorting me out to New York to
Minding you.
minding me, and we're going to sing a few songs and play some golf and make some money for the charity. And I will be there for my 50th, so the family are going to fly out to New York to be with me.
Can you believe he's in a group called Boyzlife and he's 50?
I know.
Here, listen, if you told me when I was 18 I'd still be in a boy band, I would have legged it.
And Brian, all good with you. You were mentioning your little daughter there.
Yeah.
Your missus.
3 daughters I have.
Yeah, your missus
Sissy Mickey.
is not in the public eye. Is this the way you now like it?
What do you mean?
Like, as in, she's not like a singer.
Oh, right, yeah. So
She's your
just not a
first
singer,
wife
yeah.
that's not
Yeah,
famous.
my first wasn't a singer either. In fairness. No, listen, that's the great thing now is I've got a normal life when I go home, you know. We do our work and then I go home and have a proper life.
Oh, it's great to have you in. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
And we will see you soon.
We love you,
Thanks, Willie.
Trina.
Boyzlife. Yoo!